Hi guys. I know these unboxings and reviews can get a little dull from time to time, so I thought I'd make it a little interesting and throw a trailer of my iOS game up in the upper right hand corner. It's a free download, and just so it doesn't get too intrusive, I turned off the sound on it. It's just going to be a little visual up there in the corner. If you think you might like it, just give it a click and it'll take you to the App Store to buy it. Thanks. Hi guys. Welcome to the unboxing and review of the Pivotal Living wearable fitness bracelet. I just received this a few days ago. I did open it already to charge it up and try it out for a couple of days before I reviewed it. But I'm going to do a simulated unboxing here so you can see what's inside the box and how it's presented. It's actually quite nice. It's a regular cardboard box inside of a sleeve. That's the front. The side has some symbols there. This is Pivotal Living, obviously. And on the back, there's a nice little simulation as to what you'd see on the app. Not on the actual watch, but more or less what you'd see on the app. And we'll get more into that in a little while. Okay, so open it up. Cardboard box has got a little picture of the bracelet itself. Again, more or less the same thing. And on the back, though, there's a little bit more of detailed instructions on how to set it up and what's inside. Okay. We open it up, and the bracelet is there. I have a different type of screen protector on the actual bracelet. It comes with a little shippable one, but it's just an overlap, so it's not going to stay on. This one's will stay on a little bit better for me, which is why I put it on. And inside, we have this and a couple of cards. One is a congratulations card with a bunch of signatures on the bottom. It's kind of nice, a little nice touch there. And then you have one card of instructions. Now, between this and the bottom of the box, you get a fair amount of information, but it could be a little bit more detailed. However, for the most part, this will get you by, and it'll get you started. Okay, so the bracelet itself is attached, and the easiest way to get it unattached is to pop it here, and it slides through. So there's our bracelet. We'll get back to that in a minute. And inside one of these two little compartments is the charging USB cord. Now, the charging USB cord snaps on to the back of the bracelet. And it's a little interesting here. If you look at the, there's little divots on the inside. And you just basically snap it in like this and plug it into your charger, laptop, whatever's got USB power, and it'll charge it. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning, that's mentioned in the manual several times, is that you should only charge this bracelet for about an hour. You don't want to charge it overnight because it will cause the battery to get burned out. That's probably the first con I noticed right out of the box, was that you would think that, hey, you know what, how much logic would it take to actually not charge it after an hour and just stop charging it? Some sort of little timer circuit. But in any case, getting this off, you just pop it off. So the bracelet itself is, once it's charged for about an hour, it's supposed to last for about 5 to 7 days on a charge, which is actually quite nice. The bracelet itself is actually a pretty decent quality, I have to say. For $12.99 or $12 plus $3 shipping, so $15 out the door at Pivotal Living, it's very inexpensive. We're talking a fraction of the price of a Jawbone or a Microsoft, or, you know, not even a fraction of a cost of the Apple iWatch that's coming out, or Apple Watch, whatever it's called. But then again, it's not a color display, but it does have a nice little blue LED display. It's quite easy to read. I don't have the best eyes in the world, but I can even read it without my glasses to some degree. I mean, but that's just because of my eyes. But anybody with decent vision would be able to pick that up quite nicely. And I've been pressing the button a heck of a lot in the last couple of days, just because of the gadget factor, and the battery seems to be holding up quite nicely. I'm still at 3/4 of a charge, and I don't even think I charged it 100% when I started. I think it was about at the same charge as when it is right now. Anyway, like I said, the quality of the wearable itself is quite nice. It's very durable, it seems. It
It's not waterproof. It is sweat-proof, supposedly, and rain-proof. And the way they describe it, which is a good way to describe it, is think of it like a smartphone. It'll hold up to a little bit of moisture, you know, you can clean it and stuff like that, but you don't want to submerge it. You don't want to wear it in a shower. You know, think about it. If you, wherever you take your smartphone, you should be able to take this bad boy and, you know, even to the gym, you're going to sweat on it, and it's fine. According to the manual anyway. Now on the display itself, you get the time on the first click. If you press it again, you get the number of steps. If you press it again,
You get the distance in miles that you've traveled on a given day.
this is your calories burned and the percentage towards your goals. And when on this initial display with the time, you also get an indicator that indicates whether or not you have an alarm set, and the battery indicator. The time is set automatically when you sync it with a smartphone or a tablet. So there's no messing around with that. There's only one button, so you really can't mess this up. And if you like do a quick double tap, it goes into sleep mode, and then it will monitor your sleep and tell you how well you sleep, how much you toss and turn, things like that. The step counter, it's based upon my height, I think. I don't know what the algorithm they use, but it's fairly close. You know, you're not going to get exact, but this is basically a motivational tool to get you, you know, off the couch and out of the chair and to move around. And you can actually set a timer on this so that it will prompt you every 10 minutes or so during certain points of the day, you decide when, to move if you haven't been moving. If you've been sitting in the chair and you've been doing nothing, it'll tell you to get up and walk, and it actually shows a little symbol of a guy walking across it, which is kind of cool. And it vibrates. That's the big way it lets you know. As far as I know, it doesn't actually make any sound. When it wakes you up from sleep with an alarm, it will actually vibrate, and I believe it wakes you up at a good point in your sleep cycle to, you know, when you're not in deep, deep sleep. So you wake up more refreshed. That's the theory anyway. In any case, the band is very straightforward. You just basically slide through, and then it has two prongs, and the two prongs just push into two of the holes, and you're good to go. This is definitely more comfortable if you leave it a little loose. You're supposed to wear it on your offhand. So if you're right-handed, you put it on your left, and if you're left-handed, you put it on your right. And as you can see, the time displays across as opposed to this way, and that's a little annoying, I think. I'd rather be able to look at it like a regular watch, which would be tilted towards me, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. You're not really going to use it that much as a timepiece with a smartphone in your pocket. Let's see. So now this pairs with a phone or a tablet using Bluetooth. So this is the dashboard for iOS, and as you can see, there are there's a variety of information. I actually have my screen inverted. This is actually what it looks like with the normal setting, and as you can see, it's very hard to read. There's light yellow and light green and light blue on a white background, and see these circles here. These are your progress, and as at the beginning of the day, you don't even have these circles because they get longer as the day goes on and how closer you get to your goals. And so this whole display looks very difficult to read as far as contrast goes. This is an issue with iOS in general, and this is just sort of following the color scheme of iOS, but honestly, I find it just very difficult to read. There should be a setting that sets it to something like this as an alternative for people who need better contrast. I find this so much easier to read this way. And unfortunately, this is reversing the video on all of my iOS, and so pictures look awful. But I think Pivotal Living really needs to add a setting that allows people to view it in this way, a dark background with light color versus the light colors, unlight colors that they currently have. Again, look at this versus that. And you can see this is, at a glance, this is going to be hard to pick up unless your eyesight is, you know, 20/20. But anybody with any kind of issue looking at contrast levels, I look down here at the gray dates And then the text even gets smaller here, and then like there. Very hard to read on a small screen. So I'm going to reverse the video so I can move forward. Okay, up here you have information about your sleep patterns, and this gives you how well you slept, how much you tossed and turned, I would imagine is what it's really tracking here, how long your deep sleep time is. I'm not exactly sure how this stuff is calculated, but you get the general idea, and this is how well your sleep pattern is over the last week. So your longest sleep, I've only had this for a couple of days, so you can see the data's not really that deep yet, but it should accumulate as it goes forward, and you can see the dates along here, so you can go back to previous dates in the week. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Over here is your calories burned, again a chart, and some basic information. Okay. Next up is your weight, and this will track your weight over the last week. I don't know why it's actually going back that far, because I haven't had the device that long. But, so that's basic information about weight. And if we go back, this is your steps taken. This is actually nice. It tells you how active you've been throughout the day when, this was taken on a weekend, so you can see I got up late here and didn't really actually I didn't actually turn on the device until about noon. I actually got up earlier than that, but you can see here I was up late last night and then sleep, and then when I turn the device back on. So you set the device as to when you're asleep. You determine when it doesn't know you're asleep. You have to actually set it. And this is actually, we saw this on the device itself, 2.5 across 2.5 miles for the day. That is what that symbol means on the actual watch itself. So that's good to know. Found out something new. And going back, you can see your activity. This is, I think, how closely you meet your goals or how active you've been. Not very much information here. Again, I haven't really done anything with this. I haven't actually worn it working out yet, so it's kind of hard to see any real activity here. And lastly is hydration, and this is not really going to tell us anything right now, but this really doesn't seem to track how much water you drink. As a matter of fact, if you hit edit, the screen is just blank. So get an idea of that. I think this might be a future, it says right there, hydration not tracked. This should be a future reference thing. I think they should either get rid of this edit button or put something here to tell you that, don't expect much, or it's coming up soon. So I don't really know. Okay, and now if you just scroll down here, this is where you can set up some information about your band when you want to be woken up, whether every day. And the way it wakes you up is basically via a vibration effect. There doesn't seem to be any sound on the device as far as I can tell. An activity reminder is when you set from a beginning point in the day to an ending point of the day, and this reminds you every 10 minutes if you haven't been active to move. And on the device itself, it actually shows a little guy walking, and it vibrates to tell you, basically get up, walk around a little bit, move a little bit. As it says right there at the bottom, your band will vibrate if you have not been active for 10 minutes during a selected time of day. So you can set the time of the day that you want, whether you want it every day, and if you don't select every day, you get to pick what days you do want to be reminded of this. You set your goal for your steps. I don't really know why this is not changeable. You would think that your goals would be changeable, but for some reason it's not changeable here. Perhaps it's changeable somewhere else. And when you hit this button up here, it will send all this information to your band, provided that you've pressed the button on your band as well. That should be also mentioned here, is that in order to sync the device, you have to pull down and then press the button on the device. There's only one button on the device, and then it should sync. However, I've had some problems with mine syncing in the last day. It was syncing really good on the first day and the second day, but see right there, it says band not synced. I've tried this several times. I don't know if it has something to do with the website's not up or something or what, but I'm not exactly sure why. In any case, again, turn on your band. Well, my band is definitely on, so I don't know if this band is just all of a sudden gone defective or something, but I seriously doubt it. It just seems to be a connect issue. Perhaps if I reboot my phone or something, I don't know. Anyway, down here, so that's basically your dashboard. This gives you, as you scroll down, this gives you a little bit more information about your sleep patterns. Most of the other stuff that you see, that you've seen on the other screens, is summarized here. And so, you know, you can go from here, or you can just, for the quick information about activity and whatnot, hydration here, steps, you can do that. But most of this information is on your band as well. The app is primarily for history and see how you're doing overall. So it's about midnight, and you can see that I've been trying to sync this thing since about 7 o'clock, and for some reason it's not syncing. So that's not a really good sign. I'm hoping that's just temporary. I did have problems syncing it other days, but only for a couple of times, and then I do it again and it'd be fine. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so down here, you have network, which is a network of friends. Yeah, a lot of friends, right? Well, there's not going to be that many people with the band yet. So, but as other people get to, you can have a network of friends, and, you know, I guess compare notes and maybe do a little competition to try to lose some weight or be active. And that is basically the app in a nutshell. I imagine the app will get probably more robust, and hopefully they fix this contrast issue with the white, light colors on white, and implement more of the hydration effects. But I mean, the app is one thing that they can definitely, it's not bad, it's certainly not bad. Also, given the price, it's very nice. But they could make it better, and it would be easy for them to make it better, and make it maybe more stable and make it sync a little better. I don't know how much they can update the actual device itself, the band, with firmware fixes, or if it's even capable of that. So I don't know if the band can actually get any better, if there's issues with the band, whether or not they'll be resolved. Like I said, I'm very happy with the band. The syncing issue is a little bit concerning, but overall, I'd say well worth the price of admission at $12. And for $12, you get a year's worth of the service. I honestly think you could probably, most people would probably get by with just the band itself and have the step counter and whatnot and forget about the app altogether. Would be another way to go. It certainly is, as a standalone device, quite nice, and for $12, it's basically the same price you'd pay for an inexpensive watch anyway. So that's basically it.
If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments section. I'll try to answer them. And also, you know, please subscribe or share this video with whoever you like. Thanks.